Well, last year's gold, silver and bronze medalists clash again in the final of the women's pairs. The world champions, big favourites, the Romanians from lane 3.
Yes, they're Olympic finalists, gold medalists as well. I mean, they really have dominated this event. What is interesting here is that the three big crews here, Belarus, Canada and Romania, who were the medalists last year, all doubling up. Their Bišik is in the quadruple scull there for Belarus. Cook and Clark are in the Canadian 8, they're doubling up, and so are the Romanian world champions, they're doubling up as well. So the outsiders here, maybe Great Britain, who have performed very well on the circuit. They won the World Cup, but they were disappointing in their opening heat, beaten by the Belarus pair. Whether they have the character to turn that around remains to be seen, and we will certainly have a look now. A bit of a slow start there. They got off well, but they've recovered and they're well in the hunt.
Yeah, everybody's there. In fact, on the clock, which is not always the greatest guide, Dan, there's less than a couple of seconds between the crews in lane 1 right the way down to lane 5, the United States. So this is all to play for, but the Romanians, as usual, Dan, they take a little time to find their rhythm, and then they start to move in that middle thousand.
Absolutely, they do like to settle down, and certainly the Belarus pair, they like to get out in front, and they're very strong, very rangy athletes, and they like to get out right in front and dominate, and that's how they, in the opening heat, they dominated the British pair, who really had no way of getting back in there. But there's Canada, silver medalist last year, and they move very sweetly indeed. They're not big athletes, but they are long. Look how well Stokes stretches out there for the length there as they pick up the stroke, pick up the boat, and they are matching. Absolutely, those three crews line across as they cross the 500-metre line.
Yeah, Romania just moving up a little closer as we get to the end of the first quarter, but it is Belarus. In fact, I thought from Canada and then Romania right on terms, as you can see on the near side. The Canadians who you mentioned, following in the great tradition of Canadian women's pairs, the likes of Robinson and Corn and Robinson and Luke, who were so effective in the late 90s, and trying to regain that sort of impression in this particular race. But those Belarus rowers there, Dan, very, very tough.
Very tough, but no one tougher than the Romanian pair. Romania is so dominant in women's rowing, and look at them there. This is where they like to move through, and they move so well, so smoothly. Boat doesn't check at all, and they've now taken up the lead, and this is where they like to be at about 750 metres, looking back on the field and moving away.
On the right there, Georgieta Andrinaci, or Damian, if you know her from her maiden name, of course, double Olympic champion, and sitting in front of her there, Viorica Suzanu, both 27 years of age and really in their prime, with many more seasons if they want it ahead of them. But their ambition, of course, is to retain this title and go to Athens to try and retain their Olympic crown. And then the British, Dan, we haven't really talked too much of them. They're still very much there. Catherine Granger and Kath Bishop. Catherine Granger, of course, famous as part of the British quadruple scull, earning that terrific silver in Sydney. And Kath Bishop, after a gap year, coming back.
Yes, well, they were together in the pair, came 5th 2 years ago, and decided actually to call it a day. They didn't think it was working well enough. Kath Granger went into the quad, and Bishop took a year out. They've come back together again, and they're really enjoying themselves enormously. But they were a bit disappointed in their opening heat, but they are certainly making a good push here now. They've recovered from a slightly slowish start, but they are certainly in the hunt for the medals here now. But it's very hard to see who is going to catch Romania. This is where they like to be. They're nearly a length out in front. They're having to push on quite hard there at 35 strokes a minute, but they do row well. Look how well they are together there as they push through the end part of the stroke.
And this is as a result of all those, hundreds of kilometres during the winter of hard work.
Well, they're a good squad. They're a very good squad, and they've brought back into their 8 some of their Olympic stars like Lipa from way back, and they've strengthened their 8, which has been a bit disappointing in the last few years. But here in the pair, they're looking very good.
Yeah, just worth mentioning again, all of the crews that you see here, by having achieved a place in the final, have earned for their country a boat place in the Olympics, unlike the single scullers where it's a personal qualification. Here they qualify the boat, so they don't necessarily know that they're going to go to Athens. Now, here are the two Kaths, Granger on the right, Bishop on the left.
Yes, they're moving very well. They're very powerful athletes, both of them, very strong, and they have not been dropped at all. They are very much in the hunt, and they are looking for the bronze medal at the moment. They were beaten by Belarus here. This is the Belarus pair. They're beginning to look like they're under a lot of pressure here, trying to stay in touch. I think the British pair will be looking for revenge on the Belarus pair. They've beaten them earlier on in the season, but they didn't like getting beaten by them just 5 days ago in the opening heats.
Well,
But Great Britain certainly, they've moved past Canada. Big surprise there. Canada slipping back. Great Britain mounting a really good attack here. And they are rowing well. They're sitting upright. They're rowing up well together. They're up at 36 strokes a minute. And they are certainly moving on the leaders. They are moving now on Belarus. And silver medal is possibly within their grasp here.
Well, there'll be one man who's probably cycling along there, Paul Thompson, who'll be very, very happy with what he's seeing now, Dan, from the British.
Yeah, he's their coach, and he's really masterminded this approach here. But they have a lot to do there still. They've got about half a length to go on Belarus, and that's a tough call because the Belarus pair are very, very strong.
Yes, it's a three-way fight at the moment. The Canadians there, Jackie Cook just looking across at Kath Gainsborough, and a reverse look there. But it seems to me, actually, Dan, the angle is deceptive, but the British are getting the better of the argument with the Canadians that have moved into bronze medal position and now are tackling the Belarus pair as Romania hold on here, but there's an overlap and Belarus are really charging. As Belarus are being asked a question by the British, both the British and the Belarus pairs are closing on the Romanians, but surely the Romanians are going to hold on. That's not very far to the line now, but I tell you what, Dan, the British are finishing faster than anybody else and they are coming through.
The British are coming fast. They are coming fast. Just this last 25-30 strokes, they are moving so quickly there as they close on the leaders. They're past Belarus and they are now past the world champions. They are moving now. They're up at 38 strokes a minute and they are moving away with every stroke.
This is an amazing surprise here, and they have absolutely powered their way through to a fantastic gold medal for the British, and the Belarus outstay the Romanians to take the silver, with Canada close up in fourth place ahead of the United States and China. Well, that is a shock, but a wonderful one for all the British fans. The colours of the Romanians, the world champions for the past 2 seasons, and the Olympic champions lowered in very decisive fashion.
Well, they went from fourth to first, and that last 500 metres they will be dreaming about and thinking about for many months to come, and that'll hold them in good stead when they go to Athens to try and hold on to this title. That was a wonderful performance from the British pair, and the Romanians deposed for the first time in 3 years.
The British, the fastest through the last 1,000 metres, 1:48.59 for the third quarter and 1:43.97 to take the victory.